Good evening. The continuation for the last class. In the last class, I told you about geometric mean, and I won't completed this measures of central tendency. So I'm continuing that, and after that, I will go for accounts. Okay. In the last class, we have seen this geometric mean. Geometric mean is equal to nth root of product of n items, and like how we calculate the weighted arithmetic mean. In the same way, we can calculate the weighted geometric mean. Here, we have to assign some weights. We have to assign some weights. And after assigning the weights, we have to take the product and we have to take into account the root of the weights. If you take n weights, nth root. Okay, like this, you'll come across this thing. And when you convert that into, okay, the logarithms, okay, weighted geometric mean is equal to log GMW, that is equal to log x1 into w1 plus log x2 into w2 plus log xn into wn divided by w1 plus w2 plus w3. Okay, and the simple formula for this is GMW is equal to anti-log of sigma log x into w by sigma w. This is the simple formula for weighted geometric mean. Okay, after this, you'll have you will have this harmonic mean. That is, this is the last average that we come across. In the types of averages, this harmonic mean is the last average. The harmonic mean is based on the reciprocals of numbers averaged. Reciprocals. So what is this reciprocal? 1 by any value is nothing but reciprocal. That is, we have to take averages, and that average we have to we have to divide 1 with that average. That is nothing but reciprocal. It is defined as the reciprocal of the arithmetic mean of the reciprocal of the individual observations. It see once again I'm telling. It is defined as the reciprocal of the arithmetic mean of the reciprocal of the individual observations. First of all, we have to calculate the average. Then after that, again, we have to go for the reciprocal. So that is nothing but harmonic mean. Harmonic mean is equal to n total, capital N, that is total number of items, n by 1 by x1 plus 1 by x2 plus 1 by x3, etc., 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 1 by xn. When the number of items is large, the computation of harmonic mean becomes tedious. To simplify calculations, we obtain the reciprocal of the various items and apply the formula. Okay, individual series. Harmonic mean is equal to n by sigma 1 by x. N by n divided by 1 by sigma x. That is the harmonic mean formula. Now, discrete series. When you go for discrete series, one thing you have to keep in mind is you will get frequency. So, discrete series, harmonic mean n by sigma f by x, frequency by x values. Okay, this is the formula that we come across in harmonic mean. Now, continuous series, hm is equal to n by sigma f by m. Here, midpoints we have to take into account. So, it is n by sigma f by m. That is the harmonic formula that we come across. And these are the various measures of central tendency that we come across. Okay, now I'm going to start this accountancy, that is accounts of partnership businesses. What is a partnership business? According to section 4, according to section 4 of Indian Partnership Act of 1932, when two or more persons, when they come together to do a business, sharing profits and losses in agreed proportions and carrying the business by all or any one of them acting for all. This is the definition given by Partnership Act for this partnership business. Okay, you may ask me, sir, what is this partnership business? When we go for forms of business, partnership business will occupy the second position. Okay, and this partnership business will come with the disadvantages of sole trader. You'll come across some advantages as well as disadvantages of sole trader. So in order to rectify the disadvantages of sole trade business, partnership business came into existence. Now, can you please mention some of the disadvantages? Okay, the disadvantages of partnership sole trade business: limited capital. Limited capital. With that only, the sole trade business will not flourish. Will not flourish. Okay, that defect it can be removed when we go for partnership business. In partnership business, there must be minimum two members, and there must be minimum two members, and maximum is 10 in banking companies and 20 in other businesses. So when there are two persons, both the persons, they will bring capital into the business. So thereby, there won't be lack of capital in the business. Next, okay, management. Management in sole trade business is very difficult because he is the only one man. It is nothing but one man show. He has to look after the purchases, he has to look after the sales, he has to look after everything. He is the manager and he is the servant. The same person, he has to go for managing and he has to sweep as a servant. So in that case, only one person he is doing all the works. That disadvantage, it was removed in partnership business because we'll come across two persons. So there, the management will be done either by both the people or any one of them acting for all. In partnership business, okay, it is nothing but okay owner servant relationship. That is principal agent relationship. It is not owner servant relationship, please. It is principal and agent relationship. Every partner is a principal and every partner is an agent. He is a principal individually and he is an agent for other partners. Okay, liability. When you go for sole trade business, you will come across unlimited liability. Unlimited liability. Whatever it may be, the liability, he is to look after, he is to take care. But that thing, it was reduced to certain extent. No doubt you will come across unlimited liability in partnership business. But whatever it may be, the unlimited liability that you come across in sole trade business, it will be reduced. It will be condensed. So that is one advantage that we come across. And size of the business. When you go for sole trade business, the business is very, very limited. The size is very, very limited. But when we go for partnership business, the size of the business will increase because you'll come across two persons, minimum two persons, and you'll have maximum 10 persons for banking companies and 20 persons for other businesses. So automatically the size of the partnership business, it will be big comparative to sole trade business. So like this, you'll come across partnership and types of partnership businesses. You'll come across two types of partnership businesses: limited partnership business and unlimited partnership business. Limited partnership business means everything is a limit. The capital amount is limit, the liability is limit, number of persons is limit. So everything they'll keep a limitation, and according to that only they will do the business. In unlimited partnership business, there won't be any such restrictions or limitations. Okay, you can keep the amount whatever you want. You can do whatever work you want. Okay, the liability you can go and you can increase. So unlimited partnership business is different from limited partnership business. And in unlimited partnership business, again, we'll come across some subdivisions. Okay, forget at present, forget about that. But when we go for types of partnership business, mainly you'll come across two types of partnership businesses. One is limited partnership business and unlimited partnership business. Okay, fine, fine, fine. Now, types of partners. Okay, you'll come across so many types of partners. For example, active partner, who will play an active role in every activity. So that type of person, we'll call him as active partner. Next, sleeping partner or dormant partner. Who is this person? Okay, sleeping partner. He will give the capital amount and he won't involve in any other activities. Whenever there is a profit or whenever there is a loss, he will come and he will take, or he will give the difference amount to the concerned person. So that person we will call him as sleeping partner or dormant partner. Okay, partner by holding. He will hold. Is not an actual partner. Whenever the profits comes, he will come and take. So holding partner. Nominal partner, just for namesake only. He won't contribute any amount to the partnership business and he don't have any touch with any activity in the partnership business. Just for namesake. Just for namesake only, he will be the partner. We can keep that person as a nominal partner. And one important thing in this context I have to tell you is partner by estoppel is not no way concerned with the partnership business. He is not at all a partner in the business, but in the public, he will create an impression. He will create an impression that he is one of the important partners of the partnership business. You see, people they will believe that he is a partner in the partnership business. Okay, actually and really speaking, is nowhere concerned. Then you may ask me, so why this persons, why the partners they are allowing that? In order to advertise themselves. He is doing some advertisement, one type of advertisement regarding the partnership business, regarding the partner. You see, I am the partner of so and so business. So this is nothing but one type of advertisement for the partnership business. That's why the partners they are allowing that person to be. So that person will call him as partner by estoppel. Next, minor partner. Actually, we should not entertain a minor into a partnership business. Minor means who is below 18 years of age, and no person has to entertain a minor into partnership business. Okay, but why partners they are allowing him? When he is financially good, when he is financially good, to take some amount, to take some finance from the minor partner to carry on the business activities, Some partners, they will accept the minor as a partner, provided he must be safeguarded by a guardian. He must be safeguarded by a guardian. Then only they will accept. And some people, they won't tell this. Okay. They will take into account minor partner like that. But one thing you have to keep in mind, when a minor is a financially good person, in order to take some finance from the person, okay, the partners, they will allow this minor into partnership business, provided he must be safeguarded by a guardian. Then only you can take a minor into partnership business. Okay, fine. Now, what is the thing that you will come across in minor partner? A minor partner can be, okay, can share, not can be, can share the profit amount, but is no way concerned with the losses, whatever it may be. When the partnership business, when it gets the profit amount, we have to give a share to the minor, but when there is a loss, okay, the minor has no responsibility to share the loss. Like this, we are having so many other types of minor as an agent, all these things you'll come across. And that thing, it is not relevant because we are going for accounts. Okay, now after this, what is the account and accounting system and accounting procedures in this partnership business? First of all the people, they must take into account one thing: how many capitals that you will come across in partnership accounts. We'll come across two types of capitals: fixed capital and fluctuating capital. So what is fixed capital? Fixed capital is that capital which is fixed in nature. That is, whatever it may be the beginning capital, okay, whatever it may be the beginning capital of the partner, at the end of the year also, the same amount will carry down. You will see the same amount. So that is nothing but fixed capital. Okay, under fixed capital method, okay, what will happen to other adjustments regarding the partnership business activities, regarding the partners activities, regarding the partnership business activities? All these things are to be transferred to a separate account known as current account, partners current account. There you have to show all the adjustments of partners in that partners current account. And when you come across a credit balance in current accounts, when you come across a credit balance in partners current account, it must be shown on the liability side of the balance sheet. When you are preparing the balance sheet, they must be shown on the liability side. When you come across a debit balance in current accounts, the same thing you have to show that on the asset side of the balance sheet. Asset side of the balance sheet. This is how you will come across current accounts. And every time you have to see whether we are getting a credit balance or a debit balance. That is important. Now, next thing is, we have to take into account the fluctuating capital. The word itself, it tells us that it is not stable, that it is not fixed. It will change. That is, whatever it may be, the opening capital that we show, the same capital amount we won't see at the end of the year. It will change. So why it will change? Taking into account all the adjustments and transferring them to the capital accounts, automatically the capital amount may increase sometimes and the capital amount may decrease sometimes. Like this, you will come across changes or fluctuating. The opening capital won't be the same at the end, like that of fixed capital. Okay, it will change. So that is nothing but fluctuating capital method. And when you go for partnership accounts, the primary thing that you will come across or you must see whether the partnership business is going for fixed capital method or fluctuating capital method. One more thing I have to tell you in this context is, whenever they specify whenever they specify the capitals are fixed, then only you have to fix the capital accounts and prepare the partner's current accounts. Suppose if that word is not mentioned at all, then you have to choose the fluctuating. And in 99% of the problems, whatever we come across, we'll see fluctuating capital method, or we'll follow fluctuating capital method. Only 1% point, only 1% only we will go for fixed capitals. When the capitals are fixed, compulsory you have to prepare the fixed capital account as well as current accounts. This is how you have to do this. Okay, so capital methods are over, right? Now we have to go for the next important thing, that is admission of a partner. So what is this admission of a partner? Why we have to admit a partner into partnership business? What is the necessity for us? And what is the benefit that we are going to get for? Okay, all these things you have to think, and all the partners they have to think. The necessity to take into account, that is into partnership business, a new person is, first thing is lack of capital amount. When the capital amount is lacking, there must be some assistance, financial assistance. For that, they will allow a person to join or come into the partnership business. Next, work, sharing of work. Okay, when the two partners, when they are doing the work, okay, automatically after some time they'll get bored, they will get fatigue. So there must be one person to share the work. For that purpose, they will allow another person into partnership business. Next, liability. You see, in partnership business, you'll come across unlimited liability. When you come across two persons, how long they will share the liability? The liability, it is increasing day by day. When it is increasing day by day, how to suppress that, how to bear that? So for that purpose, they will entertain another person to into their business. Okay, so liability, work, capital, and another thing is when they want to expand, when they want to expand the size of the business, then also they require one person to join. In that case also, there is a requirement for a person to join, because they are expanding their business. Okay, it is not congested, or it is not very small. They want to increase, they want to extend. When they want to extend, there must be one person to mingle and see the other activities. So that's why they will allow a new person into their business. And that thing, we'll call that thing as admission of a partner. Now, when we go for admission of a partner, how the accounting treatment will be? How the accounting treatment will be? See, okay, next, first thing is, there are 5 adjustments that we have to do when we go for admission of a partner. When we go for admission of a partner, we will come across 5 types of adjustments. These 5 types of adjustments, whenever you can be in a position to do, then only you can do the accounting treatment in case of admission of a partner. Okay, fine. First one is, okay, profit sharing ratio. Okay, profit sharing ratio. When you take a person into their business, you have to give some share to the incoming partner. It means that you are sacrificing your profit amount to the other person or to the new person. So you will come across sacrificing ratio in this. So what is this sacrificing ratio? Sacrificing ratio is nothing but old ratio minus new ratio. Whatever you are sacrificing to that person, and what is the new ratio, that you are coming across. If you take the difference between old ratio and new ratio, it will be the sacrificing ratio. So first of all, profit sharing, it is the most important adjustment that we come across in the admission of a partner. Okay, first thing is over. Second, what about undistributed profits and losses? Reserves, undistributed profits, what we have to do? Okay, before admission of a partner, before admission of a partner, whatever it may be the reserves, whatever it may be the undistributed profits, whatever it may be the undistributed losses, all these things, they must be shared by the existing partners in their old profit sharing ratio. Okay, all the undistributed profits, losses, reserves, whatever it may be, they must be distributed among themselves in the old profit sharing ratio before admission of a partner. So that is the second thing that you come across. And the third thing that we come across is, the third thing that we come across is, the third thing that we come across is treatment of goodwill. Okay, what is this treatment of goodwill? Name and fame of a business is nothing but treatment. Name and fame, or we can say that it is nothing but the reputation of a business. So that reputation of a business, we will call that thing as goodwill. Okay, and this goodwill is a fictitious asset. Fictitious asset. What is this fictitious asset, sir? We cannot see with our naked eye, but we have to feel, but we can feel. And without the help of goodwill, you cannot run the business. You won't get the profits. So compulsory you have to take the goodwill into account. So treatment of goodwill, how you have to treat the goodwill. Okay, when a new partner, when he is coming in. Okay, there is a lot of difference between valuation of goodwill and treatment of goodwill. There is a lot of difference between valuation of goodwill and treatment of goodwill. Treatment of goodwill. Okay, there are three cases, three important ways in treatment of goodwill. First one is premium method. Premium method. In this, the incoming partner, what he will do is, he will brought some amount in the form of goodwill and he will give that to the old partners. Okay, apart from the capital amount, some cash amount he will bring into the partnership business and he will hand over that amount to the old partners. And that additional amount, whatever he is bringing in, it will be taken as goodwill. And the old partners, after taking the goodwill, they will distribute among themselves in the old profit sharing ratio. Okay, and they'll keep that in the business. So thereby what will happen, when you are preparing the balance sheet, you'll come across goodwill. You'll come across goodwill. This is part A in premium method. What is the part B method, sir? Part B. So whatever it may be, the additional amount brought in by the new partner into the partnership business as goodwill will be shared by the old partners and they will withdraw that. They will withdraw that. Thereby what is happening is, you won't come across the goodwill in the partnership business, because the old partners, they have distributed and they have withdrawn that. So thereby there won't be any question of goodwill in the partnership business. Okay, this is premium method. After premium method, revaluation method. What is this revaluation method? What is this revaluation method? The revaluation method is, in this, the new partner, he won't bring any amount in the form of cash. They will raise the amount in the partnership business, okay, as goodwill. And the old partners, they will share that. They'll share that. So this is nothing but revaluation method. He won't bring any cash. He will raise that and he will, world partners, they will distribute that. And the third one is memorandum revaluation method. Okay, what is this method? What is this? Here, the incoming partner, he will raise some amount for goodwill, and that goodwill, it will be written off by all the partners. It will be written off by all the partners. This is how you will come across the treatment of goodwill. And remaining two things and other topics I'm going to do in other video class. Okay, until then, have a nice day. Thank you.